Hello and welcome to Pickle's Garage. Today I'm going to go over how to remove some of these lock lug nuts. Seems to be every time I buy a new vehicle they have these and yet they forget to include the key. So I'm going to go over a couple quick ways and some options that you have. Naturally you could take it to a garage and have it done as well, but we're going to try and do this ourselves here. There are two primary ways that you'll see. One I'm going to have to resort to today. The other is they sell actual kits for you to have like a somewhat of a key that removes these, and they look like this. So the problem with this is it's a 16 piece, so I assumed maybe it would have what I needed out of it, but for whatever reason mine is just such a large size that even the largest option didn't really fit it. I could have probably done more research and just double checked and verified the sizes were going to work for my needs, but again I just assumed 16 piece was going to have everything I needed. So I think this is more so if you have like a car, and so it has tons and tons of different options for the inner key ones as well as the outer ones, which is what I'm working on here today. But I got this on Amazon and I checked it with every locking lug nut that I've ever received that I've had to knock off, and it didn't work for any of them. So I'm gonna go ahead and return that. So keep that in mind that sometimes that won't work. But that is option one, is you buy a kit like this and it'll work supposedly. There are other ones that you could buy that are just one-off, just singular ones. The ones that I was seeing online seem to break, and almost everyone, it was like 50% of the reviews were people with broken ones, and that's not great obviously. So we're gonna go with tried and true hammer and deep socket impact. So let me go over the details of this real quick. So with this specifically, a lot of the one-offs that you could buy that were key, one, I don't even know if it was going to fit the exact order, and two, they were made of almost like a chromed steel. And so impact sockets in general are going to be significantly stronger just because they have to work naturally with an impact and not explode. And so this is going to be your best option. The deep socket will obviously help just because you need a lot of room. This is a little bit almost of like an exaggerated one. It is very long, but it's going to work just for the hammering. So the concept here is you'll see that it doesn't fit perfectly, but it is a size 22 just based on some of these other lug nuts, and you can kind of get almost like a grip. And so the concept here is you're going to hammer this down until it starts eating away into these teeth, and it'll get enough of a grip that you'll be able to break it loose. Now the positive of what we're doing here is a lot of these locked lug nuts don't actually have the same sort of torque on them as your other lug nuts, just because naturally it's a lot more solid of a grip, and so you're able to really torque it. But with these little fragile teeth, even with the key, usually this isn't on as tight as the rest of them. So the big concept here is you want to make sure you're doing this one first. You don't want to take off these because then it'll add pressure to this, and so hopefully this will have the least amount of pressure. And the other additional thing that you could do is go ahead and hit it with some WD-40. It's not going to be the cure-all, but just any resistance you can take out of the equation is going to be to your benefit. So I'm going to go ahead and set this up, but essentially I'm just going to take this, go ahead and hammer it on with my 3-pound sledge, and then we're going to be able to take this off. So let's go ahead and show that. Like I mentioned, 3-pound sledge. We're just going to kind of line it up a little bit. We're just going to tap it on. So it's already got a pretty decent grip on it. I'm going to start with this, but actually a little bit more. Just to center it. But that should go ahead and get some of the teeth gripped. And so it's on there pretty well. So a couple different things you could do from this point. Some people just hit it with an impact. If you have a really strong impact, that's probably advisable. Mine is a little bit weak and I don't trust it so much. And so what I'm going to do instead is I have a breaker bar, 1/2 inch, that I'm going to go ahead and put in. And then I have a pipe here and then that is just going to give me that extra torque, and I'm just going to slowly go ahead and crank that out. So let me line this up real quick. So this would be the setup here, breaker bar with the pipe that just gives me more torque on it. So let me go ahead and start working it off. And just like that, see, nice and smooth. It really wasn't on there all that tight, which, like I said, is kind of common with these. So I just kind of like having the grip here. Now normally this is about when a lot of people that show this technique will end the video, but I'm going to show you the last part people don't talk about, which is actually getting this out of your socket. So the best way to do it is if you have a vise to go ahead and pinch your socket, and then all we're going to do is we're just going to move this and kind of wiggle it back. Most of these teeth are all eaten up anyways, so it shouldn't give a lot of resistance, but with your sledge here, we're just going to tap. And just like that. So there you go, that is the removal. So to recap here, getting this off, breaker bar, super helpful, that way you don't damage any of your ratchets. Spraying it real quick with some WD-40 helps, giving the extra leverage with the bar here to get that extra torque. This was size 22 millimeter for a deep impact socket, and then I used a 3-pound sledge. Amazon, Home Depot, who knows. You can get this anywhere, and then like I said, you can do the impact on it just to get that torque, but Ryobi, I don't know, I have a lot of their stuff just because it's cheaper, but it's not super torquey, and so it didn't really work typically, so I like to use the breaker bar. The one thing I will say is this came out essentially flawless, which to me means that this is actually what was giving away, and it does look like it is. So this is an impact socket. I got it on Amazon. Typically this is the part that starts to peel away, but it looks like it actually peeled away on the socket. I have 3 more to do, so hopefully it works, but just keep in mind it's unfortunate to spend a lot of money on something that you're going to be hitting with a hammer, but if this chews itself up too much, it's only going to work a couple times. So keep that in mind. Spend the money on this. This you can get really cheap. And thank you very much for watching. Feel free to like and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.